Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Kombumerri people.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Thursday, November 23. In Squiz Kids Today, being a good neighbour, Oz style. Paris's Pastry Olympics. Matildas' Mania, here we come. And the mystery of the fake Harry Potter film. That's what's making news, kids style.
The lowdown.
Are you a good neighbour? Do you think you'd do a reasonable job of helping out a neighbour if they needed your help? Because that's what Australia got to show yesterday in two separate instances, playing its part in helping out other countries of the world. Firstly, we offered to help out some of our Pacific Island neighbours, who are not as good as we are at fending off cyber attacks. So, what's a cyber attack? It's an attack by hackers to damage or destroy a computer network or system, and when it happens in a country, it can cause all sorts of chaos. Yesterday, Australia announced it would be sending cyber patrols to our friends in the Pacific to help them fight off cyber attacks. Think of it as a high-tech Paw Patrol, but with some palm trees and tropical islands as a backdrop. We also showed our willingness to help out as a country yesterday, following reports that the Australian government has granted more than 800 temporary visas to Palestinian people in the month since the Hamas terror group launched its attack on Israel, triggering the conflict that is going on over there now and which we've talked about before in the podcast. Providing a safe place to live, even if only temporarily, for people affected by that war is another example of how, as a country, we're doing our bit to help out people in need. The news came as Israel yesterday agreed to a ceasefire in the conflict, meaning a temporary stop to fighting, in return for the release of 50 women and children who were kidnapped by Hamas terrorists 6 weeks ago and have been held against their will in the Palestinian territory of Gaza ever since. We have problems here in Australia, that's for sure, but compared to many countries, we have it pretty good, and making the most of our good fortune by giving back is one of the most important things as a country we can do.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in France, in Paris to be exact, where a pastry shaped like a diving board has won the Paris Pastry Championships. Pastry chefs from all over the French capital were invited to create a pastry that reflected the upcoming Paris Olympic Games. Yet it still had to adhere to all the traditions of French pastry making, and most importantly, it also had to taste delicious. There was a chocolate pastry shaped like a whistle, a cream-filled pastry shaped like a sports stadium, and a couple of pastries in the shape of a gold medal. But finally, the judges decided the pastry shaped like a diving board, hovering over a blue reflective plate to look like a swimming pool, was the winner. Judge at a pastry competition. Now there's a job I'd like to get.
Sport time.
Were you one of the millions of Aussies who got caught up in Matildas' Mania earlier this year as Australia hosted the FIFA Women's World Cup? Wasn't it loads of fun? Well, we could be set to do it all over again, with news yesterday that the 2026 Women's Asian Cup is looking likely to be hosted here in Australia too. I know, right? If it happens, which football authorities yesterday said they were quietly confident was very likely, it would see games played all over the country again, as the Matildas set out to prove that they're the best team in Asia. The two countries of Saudi Arabia and Uzbekistan have also put their hand up to play host, so it's not a done deal yet. But if the decision, which is expected to be made in a couple of months, goes our way, January 2026 could see a whole new wave of Matildas mania sweeping the country. Fingers and toes and arms and legs crossed.
Newshounds.
Every Thursday, Squizzy the Newshound sticks his snout into Squiz Kids HQ and reports back on fishy things he's sniffed out on the internet. And this week, he sniffed out a Harry Potter fake. Yes, that's right. Last week, a TikTok user posted a link apparently showing the Disney Plus homepage with a trailer for a new Pixar Harry Potter movie. Naturally, the internet went into total meltdown, with everyone getting their knickers in a knot wanting to know when it would be available and how they could see it. But the problem was, the trailer was a fake, made entirely by AI, or artificial intelligence. And according to the person who made it and posted it to TikTok, they did it to test to see how easily people could be tricked. Mission accomplished. It's another reason to always do as Squizzy the Newshound tells us, and that is to stop, think, and check before believing everything we see, read, or hear on the internet. And a shout out to the kids of Garden Vale Public School in Melbourne and their teacher Nancy for hosting a special Newshound session with their local federal MP Zoe Daniel in attendance on Monday. It was so good to meet you all, and thanks for your excellent questions. And if you want your classroom to be among the 1,800 around the country who have signed up to do Newshounds, Squiz Kids' very own free media literacy program for primary school kids, hop on over to our website, Quick Sticks, and sign on up. You're welcome. A big thank you to the kids who have been sending in their hilarious jokes for our end-of-year Great Big Squiz Kids Jokeathon. You guys are seriously funny. Don't forget, if you've got a joke you want to share with the rest of Australia, email it through to us at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au and we'll make sure you're a part of our holiday podcast. And don't dilly-dally, because you've only got until Monday to get your jokes into us. And yes, there will be prizes for the best individual joke and the best bunch of jokes sent in by a whole classroom. So, don't just sit there, get emailing already. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas here at Squiz Kids HQ. Did you know that there are only 32 days to go until Santa harnesses up the reindeer and hops aboard the sleigh? Mums and dads, have you started your Christmas shopping? If not, never fear, Squiz Kids has you covered this year. We have our very own merch store with some awesome Squiz Kids branded merch. We've got caps, drink bottles, badges and more. The perfect stocking stuffers for your Squiz Kid or for their teacher. Links are in the episode notes and on our website squizkids.com.au. And you're very welcome.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What is the capital city of France where a pastry competition has just taken place? Yes, that's right. It is, of course, Paris. Question number 2. Name one of the 2 other countries bidding for the 2026 Women's Asian Cup other than Australia. Yeah, well done if you said Saudi Arabia or Uzbekistan. Question number 3. A fake trailer for a Pixar animated movie about which famous child wizard did the rounds of TikTok last week? Yes, of course, it's Harry Potter. Who else?
Shout-outs.
It's November 23. Today is Thanksgiving Day in the United States, the biggest holiday outside of Christmas, where families all over the country get together to give thanks and express gratitude, which is a good thing to try and do every day, I reckon. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Carter from Foster, Mohammed from The Ponds, Luke from Blackbutt, Luke from Hayfield, Joanna from North Willoughby, Ava from Cannon Hill, Ellen from Summersby, Camilla from Sydney and Talia from Crookwell. And a belated birthday shout out goes to Sophia from Pascoe Vale. And classroom shout-outs today go to Room 17 with Mrs. Baggio at St Leonard's Primary School in Glenelg North, Class 6 Red with Mrs. Smith at Sacred Heart Parish School in Bouval. Classes 5-6R and 5-6H at Pitt Town Public School. Class 5C with Mr. Clusher at John Paul College in Logan. Class 6 Acacia with Mrs. Vetich at Birrong Public School. Class 5JS with Mr. Smith at St. Teresa's Primary School in Bendigo. Class P7 with Miss Phillips at Maitland Lutheran School. Gosh, there's a lot today, isn't there? Just trying to squeeze you all in before the end of the year. Grade 5 with Miss B at All Souls St Gabriel's School in Charters Towers. Class 4-5G with Miss Griffin at Double Bay Public School. Class KL with Mrs. Lukes at West Wallsend Public School. And finally, Class 1 Crimson with Mrs. O at Burpengary Meadows State School. And because it's Throw Us Alike Thursday, a big shout out to KDG99, to Yoon Soo, and to Kelly, who listens to the podcast every day, as well as to Sophia, who thinks that firefighting goats are super cool. So do we, Sophia. If you'd like to leapfrog the shout out queue, sling us a like on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and we'll feature you here. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you want a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au or fill out the form on our website. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow with our end-of-week Kids vs. Adults weekly news quiz. Your chance to prove that kids are indeed smarter than adults. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.